Hey everyone, it's Karen from Mayfly Life. Today I'm in the kitchen and I've got here potting soil. So I'm going to start doing my potting plants and my seeds, and I'm going to show you how I do it. I'm going to be first sterilizing this particular potting mix, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Okay, so I've got water boiling here, and what I'm going to do is I've got a bucket. I've probably got about 7 liters here of potting soil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some of this water into my bucket of soil and give it a good mix. The reason why I'm doing this and sterilizing my soil is that I'm trying and I want to kill fungus gnat eggs, because no matter what you do, whether it's you make your own or you actually buy it from a store, you're going to have fungus gnat eggs in the soil. So what you want to do is you want to pour boiling water over this to kill those eggs. Is you pour in enough so it's going to be nice and moist, and you're killing those eggs and giving it a good stir. You get in here right in the corners, stir it up, and the heat actually from the boiling water is going to kill those eggs. And what I'm going to do is lay it down nice and flat. And I'm going to pat it down, and I can feel how warm it is. So I'm going to pat it down and wait until this is cooled down. Now this will actually, like I said, it'll kill whatever eggs are in there, so that you don't get all those little flies. You know how you see them when you bring home any type of potted plant from like Home Depot, Walmart, or whatever, or even a market garden. It doesn't matter where. You're going to get those little flies. And that's where you get, what you get is the eggs are in the soil. So what you want to do is before potting, you want to sterilize your soil by killing the fungus gnats and getting any type of eggs dead, pretty much. What this is, it's a mixture of soil, peat moss, and perlite. So and that's what you want. You want to have a good mix for potting your seeds and so forth. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let this cool until it is nice and cooled down. Then I can start potting and planting my seeds. Okay, so while my my potting soil is cooling down, I've got all my stakes that I've got for all the things I'm going to be growing. Here I'm going to be growing a variety, 3 varieties of tomatoes. I wanted to go, I love the cherries, and I do love the cherries, and they did very well for me last year. And last year as well, I did Manitobans, which kind of caused some problems because I had blossom end rot, which was had hit pretty much all of my Manitobans, but not my cherries. Thank gosh it didn't hit my cherries. But I still had enough to harvest in the fall for at least to make stewed tomatoes and so forth, and carry me over through the winter. But this year, what I'm doing is I'm going to be doing a lot of container gardening on my deck. And I picked up a bush variety of beefsteak tomato, which are very, very good, wonderful sandwich tomatoes. So I'm going to go with a beefsteak tomato in a lot of my container. I've also got 2 varieties of beets and 2 varieties of cucumbers. I'm doing bunching onions, I'm doing lettuces, and I'm even doing parsley. I'll be doing a lot more vegetables, but this is right now what I'll be planting in my in my pots. So I'm gonna end up going back to my local garden center so that I can pick up more seeds, because I'm going to be going with low glycemic, GI, lower GI type vegetables for my diet and for my lifestyle that I'm going to be leading. I've even gone, I've never grown Swiss chard before, and I've read up a lot about it. So, and it's fantastic. It's like spinach. The stalks can be, from what I understand, can be used as asparagus, like almost like asparagus, and the leaves are kind of like baby greens for like spinach or whatever, and or either just, you know, sauteed with a little bit of butter and garlic and salt and pepper, and that makes a wonderful side dish. Okay, so my soil has cooled down sufficiently enough, and it's nice and moist. You can see how like it's moist, but it's not dripping. And what I have is I'm going to be planting just, I'd say, well, 36 cells are going to be in peat pots. They're going to be smaller. So what I need to do is I've got a tray filled with my peat pots like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill each each section. I'm going to just fill it up. And I'm going to thumb press, because you want to make sure that it's compressed well. And then I'm going to top it up. Okay? And I'm going to do that to each cell. And then I'll be adding the seeds to it. And right now, because the soil is nice and moist, I'm not going to need to top water. And what I'm going to do is, like, I'm going to be putting them all in trays so that I can do bottom feeding, bottom watering. So just fill this up. I'll have some cells that are plastic and the bigger pots, but these ones I'll be filling up. And I'll need to, once they break out of the surface and they start growing well, then I'll have to pot up these particular ones, which is fine. I mean, I don't mind. But my beefsteaks I'm going to be putting in bigger pots. My smaller plants, like maybe my beets and so forth, will go in these. So we'll keep going on this, and I'll bring you guys back. I'm going to fill the rest of the pots, and then we'll get to planting the seeds. So here I've got my larger pots. I'm not going to have to worry about potting up with these guys because with the smaller cells, you're going to need to, once they've grown a little bit, they're going to need to be potted up and separated. Now these particular pots are going to have my beefsteak tomatoes in them. They're the bush variety, and they're a determinate, which means that they grow to a specific size, and then they stop growing. Like, they stop growing taller and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I need to put seeds in here, and I'm going to put in probably about three or four seeds to each pot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bury them about 1/4 of an inch deep, because I want to make sure that at least one germinates. So that's why I'm overseeding, basically. So I'm just going to take my little stake, push them down a bit, cover them up about 1/4 of an inch. And basically that's all you're going to do. And this is what I do. So I'll be doing this for all my seeds. I I'm not an expert by any means. I mean, I've been growing gardens for over 20 years, but not seriously like Gary from the Rusted Garden and so forth, or Callie Kim at all. So I'm sure you guys are kind of familiar with those folks if you follow anybody that is into gardening and so forth. But this is what I'm doing. This is how I do it. And then what I'll do is I'll mist the top to keep the top moist, to water it. Put about a quarter of an inch of water. Let it sit for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then drain out the rest of the water, because what it'll do is it'll suck from the bottom up, and you're feeding the roots. Like you're feeding the roots, not the plant itself. You're like the greens that are up. You want the roots, and that's how they get their food. So probably within a couple of weeks, 10 to 12 days or so, these will start actually it's 7 to 4 days, they'll start germinating, and hopefully I'll see a few leaves coming up here and getting ready. So I'm not doing a grow light in the sense where you've got the long ones. I just don't have the money to buy new grow lights, like an ag grow light, period. So I'm using a trouble light with the fluorescent bulb that has the right number of lumens and kelvins that I need. From what I understand, you need at least 2100, 2200 lumens and 5000 kelvins. So I've got mini fluorescent bulbs that will go in fixtures that I can put about 2 inches above the surface of my pots, and that will mimic the daylight that is required to get these germinated. Well, here are my seedlings, day 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. Day 4, and everything is growing. As you can see, my cucumbers are growing. They're coming up. My bunching green onions, beets, and my lettuce is back there. And these guys still haven't come up. The farther ones there you can see are my tomato. Those big pots are my beefsteak, and then further down is my other two varieties of tomatoes. But everything's coming up, so I'm really pleased. Plants are reacting really well, so I'm growing. Still got some plants to seed, because I'm rethinking about what I'm going to be planting because of this new GI index lifestyle that I'm living. It's for my diabetes, so I've got to rethink some of the vegetables I'm going to be planting this year. But anywho, these are all the veggies I've got so far. So hopefully they'll grow really well. So we'll see, because this is what you can have if you grow your own. Thanks for joining me. Catch you in the next one.